What is up, guys? Jake from OneHive here with the next Coffee and Clash video. So happy to do another one of these for you guys. And the first few questions are going to come from my patrons. Obviously, a good way to get a question answered there is to have it on that patron page because, I'm going to take care of those guys. So if you want to check that out, link in the description. Also, please, you guys, the viewers, I always pick from your questions as well. Leave me questions for the next video down below. Thank you, guys. First one comes to us from Mad Dog. CNC question, finally, with the banishment of those rampant, disgusting cheaters, he doesn't like them, obviously, will the FPC eventually be able to just remove that title from their clan description since everyone theoretically in time should be fair play? Let's say possibly. Who knows? Because here's the thing. The modders have and the cheaters have not given up. This is not something that like, oh, they just throw their hands up and go home. Now, a lot of them have, but there are still a large number out there that are trying to find workarounds, that are trying to find ways to get away with cheating at any cost, putting a lot of effort into it. And the people that make the cheats are working very hard. So it's going to be a bit of a battle. I do think Supercell will win. You're talking about $1 billion company that has the assistance from Apple and Google as well. So I think they'll win. Maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? But it's not time for any of that yet. It is a great time in Clash, and it is a very celebratory time for a lot of fair play people. Just because that Supercell is making the effort. That was the biggest thing for so long, is that it seemed like there was no real effort from them. But now they have really, in my opinion, are giving it a honest effort to make it go away. And so let's see what happens. Let's don't jump the gun and start, declaring everybody fair play, because that's not the case right now. But great question. Next one comes to another patron, Z. What's up, man? For Go Vaho at Town Hall 9, is it better to bring Max Golem, 3 Max Valks, or Max Hogs in your clan castle? Why? That's a long answer for that one, but short answer is I would say Valks if you're doing an actual Go Vaho. Because you are going to get more hit points, more damage, more everything. And normally your Valks now get out ahead of your Golems anyways. And because they're taking buildings out so much faster, so very quickly they get out ahead. So that extra hit points from that Golem is not that meaningful, honestly. In a Go-Ho, I would use Hawks. I don't think you need that extra hit points from your Golems, really, if you've got Max Golems as a Town Hall 9. That's good enough. So I would bring Valks, and if you're doing just a Go-Ho, I'd bring Hawks. Good question. Steve J. Aussie Chaos. Hey, Jake, do you think Supercell would think about having a three-tier war weight system with the Town Hall being equal to the lowest of the Town Hall level, then the second for the attack weight, third defense weighting, and the game takes the higher of the 3 war weights as your essential weight to weed out the lower exploitation of the war system. Example, a Town Hall 11 with no defenses but max offense. I think that's an interesting idea, Steve, Aussie Chaos. Very interesting idea that would probably take a lot of work and a lot of coding, but there does need to be something. And I've talked about it, and it's, there's no, I don't know if there's a silver bullet out there for it, but wars are rarely really spot on, in my opinion. Usually someone has an advantage, and I've given some ideas about things that I think could help balance that. But I think that's also a good one that you've suggested there, that maybe it takes just sort of the highest war weight, whether they be a super hard defensive base with Eagle artilleries and level 4 Inferno towers, or whether they be just a very weak defensive base but super high offensive capability that sort of weights them the same. So that's an interesting concept. It would encourage, I think, more balanced basis, which I think would be a good thing. So who knows? Maybe that's something I can try to bring up to them, an idea like that. Next one's from Keegan Anderson. What do you think about bowlers getting a buff in damage and or hit points? If they did twice as much damage, I feel they would be much more useful troop. I think twice as much would be OP, but I think the bowlers need something. I've heard a lot of different suggestions. Maybe less troop space. Maybe, what I would love to see from them is them actually finish that second target. Once they start a target, even if the first target dies first, that they'll go ahead and throw that ball to the second one until it is gone, because then I think that immediately puts them into a pretty useful position for certain base types. They have that super long range. I think you're going to see bowlers use quite a bit if they do that. But extra damage, maybe. Maybe level 3 bowlers take stuff out pretty quickly, though. So I don't know. I don't know if that's the answer or not. But they need something. They're not they're not where they ought to be as far as a troop. And Supercell knows that. I mean, don't get it wrong. This didn't hit as much of as well as they hoped it would. It didn't sort of take hold like they hoped it would, and they realize that they'll balance it. It's not going to be something that they just ignore forever. There will be something for bowlers. Who knows what it is, but don't worry about it. It's coming. Kissily. Hey Jake, longtime fan of the channel here. Do you think Clash of Clans YouTubing community is getting kind of saturated? Of course it is. Anytime there is something that people have success with, I mean, you look at people like Chief Pat and Galadon and Godson and Clash of Cam and all these guys that have 1 million subscribers. Everybody wants some of that. You know what I mean? That's something that people are flock to and try to replicate and duplicate because there's a lot of money in it, and there's a lot of success in it. But yes, it is getting saturated, and it will be until the game, slowly dies, like all games eventually will. Hopefully, it's years and years from now. But as long as the game is big, it is going to have those YouTubers trying to get their piece of that pie. But the guys that were first are the ones that are big. You look at those guys that have 1 million subscribers; they've been doing it for a long time, and it always pays to be first on something. The guys that are starting out today, starting YouTube channels. It's going to be rough. They're going to have to kind of have a different angle, or they're going to have just absolute superior footage and gameplay, which is going to be hard to come by, really. So we'll see. But yeah, it's definitely a saturated market for sure. Matt Wood. If you were helping out Supercell or working for them, what would be some things that you would try to get those who have quit the game back into the game? I think the number one thing, and the number one thing, if Supercell hired me tomorrow and said, okay, help us get these guys back, would be new ways to play the game. I would try to come out with at least 1 a year, if not 2 a year. And I'm talking about completely new ways to enjoy your game. I've told you guys this a long time. This is a base building game. It's a grinding game. And people put tremendous hours, effort, time, money, all of that into their bases, into their troops, into their heroes. And once you have this, let's just call it a trophy, because that's what it is. Your base is your trophy. And once you have this trophy, it's on your mantle there. If you set it on the mantle and there's nothing that you can do with it, if it's just a trophy, eventually you'll walk by and look at it, but you're going to stop playing with it, But if it's something that you can actually take down off the mantle and use and enjoy and show off in actual gameplay, that's where you get people back. People are tired of the same hitting the farming attacks. People are tired of the pushing. They've done it. They've been up there. It's something it's not as appealing as it once was. War has even become stagnant. Now, obviously, with the removal of mods and things like that, I think that has a great chance for war to be the future of the game as far as the core of it. But they still need other things. I don't care if it's daily quest, daily bases that you have to hit or whatever's out there, something to get you to come in back every day. Obviously, they need another game mode like we've talked about, a 5 versus 5 quick war, maybe last an hour, you get your attacks in and you move on. There needs to be something that they come up with, something innovative, another way for people to enjoy their bases that they worked so hard for. If you give them enough of that, I think you're going to get a pretty good percentage of them back because, whether they've gotten tired of the game as in the state that it's in, they did love it and they did spend a lot of time on it. So being able to come back to that when it's not gone, it's still there, I think would draw some of them in. So I think it's a great question. I think it's something that Supercell needs to consider and needs to think about for sure, because they've got to reinvigorate the game across the board. And I think there's some great ways to do that. I've given suggestions. Hopefully they start using some of them. And 2016 is a great year for Clash. I think it could be for sure. HSC Clan Pro, Clash of Clans, do you think it's okay for a Fair Play Clan to accept members that have modded in the past but become clean after the Supercell announcement? I'm currently not sure if I should continue my zero tolerance policy or follow the idea of Supercell to forget the past and give everybody a second chance. This is by far and away the number one question I've been asked since the day that announcement was made. And I think it's a very important question. And I think it's a good question. And I can see both sides of it. I really do. There's a lot of people out there that say, hey, if they all leave, the game's dead. Now, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that at all. But what I will say is that eventually, I think we will all be playing in the same pond again. As of today, absolutely not. OneHive's stance is we are not taking in known modders that even if they're saying, hey, I'm going fair play now. And the reason being is because the guys, it's not 100% clean yet. And it may not be for a while. The waves are the bans are still coming in waves. Not everybody that even openly mods and just does it is banned yet. So it's just not time for that yet. Now, that being said, 6 months from now, this time next year, maybe totally different. It might not even be a question anymore. I don't know. And if that's the case, I think you'll see all clans, OneHive included, pretty much accept anybody that can cut it and that is a good enough attacker. But in the current state of the game, and in the current, the week following, essentially next week will be 2 weeks following the announcement, it's just not time, at least for us, to open up the doors and say, yeah, you guys, that even if you just say, hey, I'm not going to mod anymore, come on in, because the risk is too high. We don't want to expose ourselves to that and go down that road. To be perfectly honest, a lot of them have been very abusive towards us, I guess is the best way to put it, towards me, towards our clan, tried to hurt us in any way possible, and we just don't want to play with those people. So some of it's personal, some of it is just strictly business, but for whatever the reason, for the time being, OneHive will not accept known modders. That's just the way it is. It's not going to happen. Could it change? Yes, it could. And it likely will if Supercell wins this battle with them. It likely will in the future. Like I said, if we're talking about this time next year and Supercell wins and there is no more modding, then no, we're not going to be like, oh, wait a minute, you were in Reddit Troopers back in the day? Oh, no, you can't be here. That probably won't happen. But if you're talking about next week when their bans run off, no, thank you. No, thank you. Carson Sablon. Jake, a long-time follower, this is a question from my girlfriend. She wants to know how you met your wife and how many kids you have. Thanks. Cool, man. I would be happy to answer your girlfriend's question. It's kind of cool if y'all watch the videos together. I like that. I met her in college. We both went to a small college here in Arkansas, and both had the same major. I mean, it was a small college. We would have met anyways, but we had the same major for our freshman year and all of that. So we had a lot of classes together. She I don't know. Again, it's such a small. We had like 100 people in our class, 110, something like that. So everybody knew everybody, and obviously we had seen each other. I think she was actually trying to talk to my roommate at the time, but then she realized her mistake and pretty quickly turned that around, and we sort of danced around it and dated a little bit, for years, and then dated pretty heavily like through our junior and senior year, and actually moved together to Memphis. I was going to go to optometry school, which I did for a year, and I actually moved in together, but we didn't even make it through the summer. Sort of went our separate ways. Both of us got married, eventually got divorced and met back up, and we've been together ever since. So it just took a little time, roundabout way, but we did meet way back in college. Andrew Nelson, big fan, been here for over a year now and played with a couple of times on VG. I'm assuming you're Andrew 500, I think is on VG. Yeah, I did. We definitely had some fun times there. Clash is pretty stale, pretty stale for me, and I'm pretty much on the verge of quitting or taking an indefinite break. I uninstalled the game yesterday. Any advice to people like me who are losing or who have lost interest in the game to either keep the game fresh, convince Supercell to do something new, or for simply moving on, man? And we just talked about it, and I know what you're saying, and I get it. And all I can say is don't get, I know you got one foot out the door, but leave that one foot in there with the door ajar, because I think you might want to come back. I'm not saying it. I know a lot of people, once you lose someone, it's very hard to get them back. But again, Supercell has done a 180 in the last, let's say, 6 months. They've started paying attention to the war community. They've started fighting modding. I mean, all the things that we've been asking for the last year, they might be, the argument can be made they're a year late, and I get it, and I sort of agree with it. But hopefully it's not too late. And people like you, that are getting stale, if they continue down the path they're going and they continue to make good decisions and bring innovative things to the game and new ways for us to enjoy it, I think you're going to want to come back, because I think it's still going to be enjoyable for you. Because like you said, you hate to leave. You've put so much time into it. You've put so much into it, no effort. It's almost sad to leave it. But I think great things are coming. I hope great things are coming. So we'll see. Hang in there, buddy. I understand people need breaks, and just take a break. But stay in touch. Hopefully you'll see some good announcements before too much longer this year. And the last one today comes from USAS Panther. With Supercell's new proactive approach to modding, how do you feel this will affect creation progress of new strategies, as some have supposedly originated from modding clans? I personally feel longer periods of waiting, experimenting will be worth it. Also, do you believe that this paves the way for some tournaments in-game arranged war format? Great question, and it's a fair question. No one, and I've said this all along, I've never argued against it. No one in their right mind can say that innovation doesn't come quicker when you have more tries. That's just logic. Of course it does. And it will slow down. Innovation, if modding is completely eradicated, innovation will slow down. But I am in 100% agreement with you that it is well worth it. It's always been worth it. I wouldn't trade any attack I've ever done for what modding did to this game. Now, I'll also say nobody in their right mind, you hear people will argue this. Nobody in the right mind can say that all innovation has come from modding clans. That's insane. Yes, they have come up with some of the attacks. No, they have not come up with all the attacks. Again, I point to things that we at OneHive come up with way back before modding was ever really a problem or a thing that the war community talked or worried about. Just the use of golems and kill squads to take out the queen. If you go back to Hulk's first videos that he was putting out there, in which no one will argue that Hulk and myself pretty much were the first two war guys that focused on YouTube stuff and showing these high-level attacks, they didn't even use kill squads. They ignored the queen. We innovated those things. It didn't all, and everything since then has come from that. But yet the modders will claim that they have invented everything from the wheel and everything since. So yes, it will slow down. Yes, it's worth it. It will still be fun to innovate at a slower pace. There's nothing wrong with that. Yes, it opens the door for all kinds of amazing things. Now, again, I think we're all jumping the gun a little bit. The fight is not over. We haven't won yet. We have won a moral victory, and in essence, the fight has sort of, it's on our turf right now. We got the home field advantage because we got the creator of the game working with us. So for the first time ever since mods were a thing, we are not on the losing end, and it feels good. And it's made me very happy, and I think that makes a lot of people angry that I'm happy for once. They've been happy for a year and a half, and I'm happy now, and they hate it, but that's okay. It will be something that goes back and forth. It'll be a little bit of cat and mouse. I think eventually they will make it so difficult and so tedious to cheat that 95% or more just say, okay, it's not worth it. It's not even fun to cheat anymore, and they will move on. So it will be a bit of a battle, but I think by the end of, maybe by the end of the summer, it will be pretty much a thing we don't have to worry about anymore. So I'm definitely looking forward to it, and looking forward to all of those amazing possibilities that it opens up for us. All right, guys, that is it. Great questions. Obviously, a lot to talk about with everything that's going on. So you guys had some awesome questions for me this time. Really do appreciate it. Leave me some questions in the comments for future videos. Until then, Jake from OneHive doing my best to help you guys suck less.